Heritage gets a chance to start this morning. Says RLG to cough 6 million cedis over breach of contract, and photograph of some of the laptops here. And the Gold Street Business says Ghana's cashew risks rejection on world market. Foreigners take over industry. The Daily Statesman: Ghana wins big in maritime dispute with La Côte d'Ivoire. Cocoa farmers deserve better. President tells World Cocoa Foundation. And the Punch says that RLG to cough up 6 million, 6.3 million. That's the story. The Finder: huge relief at last as Ghana keeps 10 oil fields despite modifications to her maritime boundary with La Côte d'Ivoire. GJA now a unionized body and set maritime boundary with Togo now, NPP tells government. The Daily Guide says Ghana floors Côte d'Ivoire over oil boundary. NDC dams Kwesi report, and those are the two stories. The Times says NDC, NPP, others congratulate parties in the boundary case. The president's photograph is here. It says that the president hails verdict, and Ghana wins against Côte d'Ivoire. The Daily Graphic has the same story. Ghana triumphs over Côte d'Ivoire's rights not violated. Parties agree to abide by decision. And the story yesterday at the Cape Coast Stadium: Ghana whip Nigeria to lift Wafu Cup. That's the front page of the Daily Graphic this morning. My guest this morning is a former Deputy Communications Minister, Felix Kwakye-Ofosu. Good morning.
Good morning, Bright.
I hope you're good.
Yes, I'm okay.
Thanks so much for time. We're waiting for the Member of Parliament for the Futu constituency, Alexander Afenyo Markin. Let's start from here. A quick one at what the Black Stars did yesterday, whilst we wait for Alex to join us very soon. Yesterday was all fun at the Cape Coast Stadium. The Black Stars Team B having won the tournament. Perhaps the boys, the local boys, have made Ghana proud, I guess.
Well, they have. After the whole nation went through that roller coaster of emotions over the rather erratic and inconsistent performance in the World Cup
of the main team.
It was refreshing to see the local Black Stars play in a very cohesive and fluent manner and bang in a lot of goals. I expected a very gritty encounter. As you may be aware, encounters between Ghana and Nigeria have always been hard fought. I did not expect the one-sided domineering performance from the Black Stars that they put up yesterday. So it was welcome news. It came at the end of the weekend when we were celebrating the major victory chalked at Icos. I'm not sure we could have asked for a better weekend. But let me also commend the organizers of the tournament. I mean, they have breathed some life into intra-sub-regional competitions. The Wafu tournament has been there for quite some time, but in recent times, it has not attracted the sort of attention and euphoria that it used to get in times past. So bringing it back and organizing it in a manner that meets international standards and getting recognized brands to be associated with it, to give it a sort of mileage that would draw attention to the kind of football that is played within the West African sub-region, is something that the GFA and the local organizing committee ought to be commended for. It is one more feather in our cap. It is obvious that some of the players who were on display yesterday have made a strong case for collapse into the main national team at a time when we appear to have depleted resources in the Team A.
The main national. This
couldn't have come at a more opportune time. One or two or three of the players on display yesterday have made a strong case for collapse, and I believe that the Black Stars coach, Kwesi Appiah, monitored events closely and would have made up his mind as to who exactly to call in and who to give opportunity to help augment the current crop of players we have in the Black Stars. Yeah.
I'm grateful for your time. Felix.
You mean Alex?
Alex, I mean, sorry. Alex, and I think your Mark, Member of Parliament for Futu, has just joined. Good morning.
Morning, Bright.
Hope your weekend was great.
Well, I enjoyed one of my constituents who was representing Central Region, Baba.
Okay.
A very articulate personality, doing well on your program. And I'm calling on the people of Ofutu to continue to support it. In the entire Central Region. she's our pride.
Right.
Yes.
All right, and in Central Region, to yesterday, the region hosted all West African countries, football, and Ghana won the tournament. That's quite a comforting win after another win from the court, or perhaps even a court battle. So a quick one on the Black Stars Team B, and then we can jump to the main battle over the weekend.
Well, congratulations to them, a commendable effort, and I will rely on all that Felix has said in their honor without more.
Yeah, it is obvious Alex is not a football fan.
Yeah, I've said so. I don't have the heart for it. Because anytime, you know, I don't want Black Stars.
Winneba has a football team. There used to be some great football team in Winneba.
Advanced Stars.
Advanced Stars.
Those were the days when politics was deep into football. When a ball will hit a post and it will be it's a goal. You know, it was at that time the owner of the team was a MPP candidate.
Okay.
And he was the main MPP boss in Winneba, and we had the MP for Winneba who was also the Minister for Sports.
Right.
So you can imagine, you know. All
right. Yeah. Let's turn to the issue with the maritime, and the Times put it here: NDC, NPP, others congratulate parties in the case, the maritime dispute case. The front page story says Ghana wins against La Côte d'Ivoire. Now, the story on page 7, where I want us to start the conversation from, says that the Vice President has declared that both Ghana and Côte d'Ivoire are winners in the ruling by the Special Chamber of the International Tribunal of the Law of the Sea concerning the maritime boundary dispute between Ghana and La Côte d'Ivoire. Now, the governing NPP and the opposition NDC, in separate statement on the ruling, lauded the collaboration between the previous government and the current one, which ensured Ghana's victory, and called on current government to take steps to establish Ghana's maritime and land borders. The NPP in the statement said it noted with delight that per the ruling, Ghana's oil reserves remain intact, and called on government to take proactive steps to safeguard Ghana's maritime boundary with Togo in order to forestall any boundary dispute between the two countries. The NDC on its part said the ruling represents a victory for Pan-African collaboration, diplomacy, and international rule of law. Our two countries have managed a potentially divisive and explosive dispute with great calm, maturity, and wisdom, but we can now put this behind us and look forward to many more years of continued collaborations. That's the story in the Times. Alex, let me start with you. We know of Nigeria, Cameroon, what happened, the Bakassi Peninsula issue, and in our case with Ivory Coast, a lot of maturity seemed to have come into it. We never heard of the two, perhaps exchanging even words because of this dispute. Eventually, we have seen the end of it. The two main political parties are painting the picture that maturity has seen us get to this point, with the two countries having issued a communique agreeing to what happened. This is the way we should go as far as international relations is concerned.
It should be the way to go. And like you said, if you look at what happened between Cameroon and Nigeria, and the stories we've heard in other areas regarding some of these disputes, then indeed, Ghana and Côte d'Ivoire deserve the commendation of the world for the maturity we've demonstrated. We didn't allow this to mar our bilateral relations and diplomatic MOUs and all that. In spite of all these challenges, we've cooperated in various areas. And the joy of this whole thing was even the joint statement that the two countries issued. And you saw the pictures I saw. I mean, our learned Attorney General and the Ivorian representatives were standing together. And that is the further assurance that we give to the world, that we understand each other, we are neighbors, and we will not allow oil to bring unnecessary tension. Ghana needs Cote d'Ivoire needs Ghana, and that should be it. On the legal front, let me also commend the learned Attorney General. Professionalism was brought to bear. That the fact that I am from a different political persuasion and you are also in a different political persuasion, not mean that, look, I inherit the brief, you are no more the Attorney General, so forget about it, I take all the glory. No. When it comes to law, you need, the submissions have been made.
Right.
You would need them, your colleague to prompt you in one way or the other to explain issues. And of course, we had another attorney engaged at the international level to assist. So getting Marita Brew to still be on board was another step. And I do not want us to unnecessarily give it political coloration, this judgment that who started it, and somebody, I've seen a statement, somebody said Professor Mills, and then he set up a committee, and then John Mahama. These things will take away the beauty of this. Retained the role that the former Attorney General played, got her on board. The whole team was not changed. They worked together in the national interest. That remains our pride. We should take advantage of that and then rather, amplify that particular conduct. Let the country know that together we can build. It doesn't matter which party you belong. If we begin to introduce that partisan thing, I've seen the statement by the former president, President Mahama, where he's talking about some pessimists who were worried about his decision. Now, if you want to make a personal claim, you change the whole dynamics. Posterity will judge our individual and collective conduct as politicians, as public office holders. The issue is that the country had to take a decision was taken. In any event, somebody had to also take the risk of investing in the exploration. Okay, eventually we were able to get oil. It took somebody's risk. So then we do that argument, then the Kufuor factor will come in that after all, even when Kufuor's administration oil was discovered, you, the same NDC, criticized and even doubted it and said it was Ajongo and all that. All those arguments need not surface now. We don't need them. The most important thing is that our oil reserves are intact. The most important thing is that those companies that invested in these areas have nothing to lose. They've not lost anything. It doesn't affect our projections. If for nothing at all, there's an opportunity to add more. Let's go in that direction and then think about ways of utilizing our oil resources in a manner that the Ghanaian people will benefit. To me, these are the issues ahead of us, but not to be bringing NDC, MPP. I've seen a statement issued on one of our platforms. A colleague MP posted it, so it means it's credible, coming from Mr. or Dr. Potofi. And I didn't like the tone. The content of it was, to me,
because it's not partisan, not nationalistic. Is that you?
More partisan, more partisan, and I hold a view that it was not so appropriate. But you can't take that away from the NDC. I mean, some people believe in petty partisan politics. You can't take it away. I'm an MPP. They are NDC. I wouldn't take that. If that's the way they think they want to go, that's fine. But it's not most appropriate.
You said earlier that we should leave posterity to judge us. If, for instance, when the former president was taking the decision to take us to the tribunal, and there were people who thought otherwise, and now the ruling has come in our favor. Is it wrong for him to recall the criticism that he had when taking that decision?
The issue is whether or not it is necessary.
Okay.
As a political leader, as I sit here, there are decisions I take in Efutu that people criticize me. For instance, I have a Touching Life, an initiative I call it Touching Life, where vulnerable people get support here and there. I have people who tell me that, Honorable, instead of supporting these vulnerable people with money or giving them something to trade, why don't you build a facility for all to benefit? Then I say, but Nkrumah did this project and that project, but Ghanaians said, we still need the bread and butter. So let's combine. People will criticize you. You get my point. You've taken a decision to see to a litigation in this matter because you felt that there was still some disagreement. Ivory Coast criticizing us here and there. I'm saying that at this moment, it is a nation that has won. If you start from there, then the one in whose era we discovered oil, for which your own party people doubted, would also have to come up and make a statement. The one who took the bold step that, look, let's go back to the Buzia era demarcation boundary, you know, in 1971, 72. The Buzia regime had some agreement with Cote d'Ivoire, and the whole boundary was redefined. That's why up in the Bronga-Hafo, you see that it's coming in, then down we had that strip.
Right.
Good. People criticize. Now, Kufuor era used that equidistance position to take a decision. At the end of the day, we've had oil in that region. I'm saying that if President Mahama comes up with this argument, and I took that decision, people criticize me and all that, then Kufuor will also come in. All right? He took a decision, and I'm saying that all these are unnecessary. Let us lift the debate up and say that, look, as a country, we've allowed our national interest to take precedence, to have an overriding effect. Let's take advantage of that point and then rally people around. It's better that way.
All right.
It's, you know, other than that, you will see people doing the partisan argument. You know, when somebody says that let's celebrate Nkrumah on the 21st of September, and also honor those who took the independence initiative for the 4th August. You see people arguing unnecessarily as if Nkrumah has been taken out. Then it becomes a partisan thing. When Nkrumah indeed is being celebrated, they create the impression that, oh, Nkrumah is not even being celebrated. I don't want that kind of argument that came up to also, you know, begin in this ITLO's decision. It is Ghana that has won. The two countries have agreed that they were going to cooperate along. Let's go by that and avoid unnecessary partisanship.
I'm grateful. Felix, so Alex is simply saying that, right, so this is Ghana. The two political parties have all congratulated themselves and those who whose work, toil and sweat led us to this. We should discuss this issue on a national level and not draw partisan politics into it.
Well, I have a difficulty appreciating that kind of analysis. I'm not sure the basis upon which that argument is being constructed. How does making statements that are factual, that are readily verifiable, constitute partisan debate? Look, if I ask you which government instituted the National Health Insurance Scheme, or which president brought National Health Insurance Scheme, at least in this current form, what would you say? President Kufuor. Is it not a statement of fact?
Yes.
And if you said that, would that mean that you have politicized the National Health Insurance Scheme? So I have a difficulty appreciating that concern. The truth of the matter is that governments are elected for reasons. Presidents are elected to take decisions. At a certain juncture in our history, it became the responsibility of President John Dramani Mahama to take a decision as to whether or not we refer a long-standing maritime boundary dispute to the special chamber of the International Tribunal on the Law of the Sea, or we carry on negotiating with our Ivorian counterparts, having done so over a period of time and finding out that no discernible outcome was in the offing.
After 10 meetings,
After 10, absolutely. The president consulted with his advisors. The Attorney General at the time, Mrs. Marietta Apia Opon, argued strongly that Brew Apia Opon, yes, argued strongly that the president authorized the referral of the case to ITLOS for adjudication. The president did that. When the president did that, there were those in our society who criticized it. It is a matter of public record. It is there. Some of those who did it had partisan inclinations to the MPP. It is also not avoidable. It doesn't mean that if you point those facts out, you have said that it is an NDC victory. It is a Ghanaian victory, but it was the decision of some individuals that has resulted in this decision. So we should be gracious enough to accept that when people act in a way that is beneficial to society, they are commended. That is all that is happening. I'm also unable to understand why Alex would criticize the NDC statement. It was a very conciliatory statement. It began.
He said that when you begin to draw lines as to who started what.
No, but I'm saying that how does...
But the statement, for instance, said the Professor must establish a permanent maritime border secretariat and tax the GNPC to resources so he could attract and deploy Ghanaian expertise. Suggesting
is that a statement of fact or not?
Well, it is a fact. I mean,
and where is the partisanship in that? When the president
he says that when you bring in that, then you
But you have not answered my question, right?
To go back to
you have not answered my question. Is it a statement of fact or not?
It is a fact, but
so how does that make the debate partisan? Indeed, if you went back and said that President Kufuor, or it was during President Kufuor's era, that we struck oil in commercial quantities, it is a statement of fact. How is that a partisan argument? And how does that detract from the benefit that we are deriving as a people from the oil find? I would like to believe that it is those who do not want to hear that, who are at fault, who do not have the grace to accord people to whom honor is due the right honest. That for me is at the heart of this matter. Otherwise, there should be no problem. When the matter first arose, we were in a bit of lacuna as a country. We were a bit uncertain as to what constitutes our maritime borders. So President Mills put in the structure, the Maritime and Boundaries Commission, to undertake the task of ascertaining our maritime boundaries in order that when we go into any negotiation or take any other judicial step, we go with the right kind of information, armed with the right set of facts. That happened. They worked over a period. Out of their work, they began to engage with their Ivorian counterparts with a view to arriving at a negotiated settlement. This went on for some time, but it did not yield any dividend because the goalposts kept shifting. And it was obvious that we could not negotiate interminably. So it became obvious that we use a formal judicial process to settle the dispute in an authoritative manner. It was then that the then Attorney General, convinced that we had superior arguments, prevailed upon the then President to grant permission for this case to be filed at ITLOS. The President considered it, consulted widely with a range of stakeholders, and took the decision to go to ITLOS. And that decision has been vindicated. Indeed, if you read President Mohammed's statement on the matter, he does not seek to claim personal credit. Indeed, he actually went ahead to commend the current president for continuing from where the NDC government left off. So I don't see how anybody can read this statement and come to the conclusion that it is partisan. And let us not behave like ostriches in this country. Even the good book admonishes us to give honor to whom honor is due. And doing that does not in any way introduce partisanship. I don't understand why a section of our country are so unwilling to hear good news about another section of the country. Now, if the MPP does something and they are commended, it is okay. But if the NDC does something and they are commended, it is not. Why? The free SHS program that is being rolled out, has the taxpayers' money not been used to do adverts indicating that President Akufo-Addo has fulfilled the campaign promise? Has that not happened? Who has raised qualms with it? Is it a partisan advert? They are making a statement of fact. You can argue about the propriety of the decision or whether or not it is beneficial. But that it was a program, at least in this current form, started by President Akufo-Addo. It's not in dispute. And acknowledging that does not take anything away from those who do that kind of acknowledgement. Having said that, let me also commend the two countries. You see, you mentioned the Bakassi Peninsula affair involving Nigeria and Cameroon. That one saw a lot of confrontation, armed confrontation over a period of time until our own Kofi Annan stepped in and tried a mediation process. Eventually, ITLOS settled it in favor of Cameroon. Before then, in the late 70s, there was a similar standoff between Chile and Argentina. And they nearly took up arms. And there were some skirmishes that are recorded in history. On that occasion, it was the late Pope John Paul II who played a mediation role and eventually ensured that a settlement was reached, which calmed down tempers and allowed the two neighbors to coexist peacefully. So there was precedence from which we could learn. And I am gratified as a citizen of West Africa that these two neighbors, I mean Ghana and Cote d'Ivoire, have found a way to resolve this dispute, even through judicial means, without raising tensions unnecessarily, without engaging in very inflammatory rhetoric. Because if you listen to both sets of leaders, they have all been very guarded in the things they've said. You recall that when the chamber made some initial orders
to stop
some form of activity, even the way that the government of Ghana responded demonstrated a certain maturity, because we did not want to say things that would inflame passions and further protract or complicate the dispute resolution process that had been set in motion. That tradition appears to have continued. And the fact that even a joint statement, which would have been prepared ahead of time, was read by both countries, is an indication that even as the litigation was playing out, backroom channels were being used to negotiate. You recall that at some point, President Mahama had to meet President Ouattara in Switzerland at the behest of Mr. Kofi Annan to continue negotiation and dialogue, even as the case was pending in the ICLOS chamber. So both countries have behaved quite well. Again, the euphoria that has greeted this ruling is quite understandable, because we are talking of hundreds of millions, if not billions of barrels of oil, which are critical for the implementation of some programs in very vital sectors of our national life: education, agriculture, and health. Now, the loss of these resources would have been catastrophic for our economy. So it is understandable that Ghanaians are elated, but we also need to be cautious in the things we say, so that we do not unnecessarily taunt our neighbors. You can imagine what they are going through. Having lost this case, they will not be in the best of moods, but they have behaved well. We have also behaved well. Our relationship certainly will outlast any number of barrels of oil that is embedded in our seabed. And therefore, it is not worth throwing away historical ties that have bound us all these years simply in pursuit of some material wealth. That wealth will be dissipated over a period of time, but the relationship, the two countries will exist, at least for eternity, until our Lord Jesus Christ makes his second entry onto this earth. So all in all, it is a satisfactory outcome. Our case was never in doubt. Indeed, if we had any doubt at all that we will not prevail or succeed in this case, I don't think the decision would have been made to go to ICLOS. But certainly, let all of us accept that key individuals played certain roles which has led to this, acknowledging that won't take anything away from us as Ghanaians, and it does not mean that it is not a national victory. I have not heard one person make the argument that it is a partisan victory. It is a national victory spearheaded by specific individuals. Indeed, let me commend Madam Gloria Akufu also. She also showed a lot of professionalism. And in fact, there is precedence. You remember the drillship matter, the reason why it became controversial. We lost that case because the external solicitors, Bindman and Bindman, who had been engaged previously by GMPC, were withdrawn when the Kufuor administration came into power. So we didn't have legal representation at some point, and default judgment was entered against us. We appear to have learned our lesson as a people, and this time we've acted responsibly. No significant alteration was made to the team beyond the political leadership of Madame Gloria Akufu and her deputy, and the addition of Professor Kwesi Prempeh, if I'm not mistaken. She extended a hand of friendship to the immediate past Attorney General, Madame who started the whole process and therefore had significant institutional memory, which she brought to bear on the process. And this outcome has been achieved. So she deserves commendation for her professionalism and the nous that she brought to bear on the case, and realizing that there was no point seeking to take credit for another person's work, and that if that person's expertise and support could be harnessed, why not? I think that she's charted a path that others should emulate. And on this occasion, the women have upstaged us, the men. It looks like. I mean, even last men squabble over all manner of things. Yeah, I mean, you hear one minister accusing his predecessor of all manner of wrongdoing. The women appear to have to have raised the bar a bit. So Alex and myself have a lot to learn in our future endeavors as politicians. So let us give it to the women on this occasion.
Moving on, for us, the NPP is suggesting that we quickly take a look at our border with Togo. Felix cautioned, for instance, how to relate to Ivory Coast. They've lost a battle, so certainly kind of wounded. And so how we relate to them, our language, body language will tell a lot on how this is set. How should government agencies that how to deal with the ruling carry themselves in order not to push the Ivorians to a point where they might feel they are being scoffed at?
Well, I think the two leaders have set the tone. By the issuance of the joint...
set the tone and it doesn't...
Yes, so what I'm saying is that when your leader tells you to move in a certain direction, your duty is to yield in obedience. So that is the most important thing, that the joint statement has been issued, and there is no point, therefore, for anybody down the line to attempt to do otherwise.
The statement enough?
It is. I mean, and if you situate this in the context of our conduct, Ghanaians and Ivorians, you should be assured that nothing untoward would happen. Nothing.
People who live within where the boundary
look,
is.
they cross during the day to Abidjan, go and work. They come back in the evening to sleep. If you go to the Brown Halfway area, people have their farms in Ghana. They come and farm in the evening, they go back. If you go to Aflao border, I mean, people cross in and out. I've been there. I don't know much of Cote d'Ivoire, but I mean, in terms of seeing people, what I've read is what I'm telling you, or what friends from that area tell me is what I'm telling you. But if you go to the Aflao border, people walking daily, and they are in a very good state. Nothing would happen because they themselves need the peace to be able to trade and relate to each other. People have families. There are people who have families in Abidjan, and they wouldn't want to disturb that relationship. So I don't think there is any threat at all. There is no need to worry.
Is it not too early to suggest there's no threat?
Oh, is there any semblance of possible threat? There's nothing. Judge it from our conduct prior to this litigation, during the litigation, and you should be able to come to a conclusion whether or not we're going to conduct ourselves in a manner that will lead to any escalation. No. We've conducted ourselves well. We've conducted ourselves well.
Right.
If I may chip in something. Again, it is important to stress that once both parties or both countries submitted themselves to the arbitration process, they had agreed that they will be bound by the outcome. So it's a matter of international law. You cannot go into a process, agree to accept the outcome, and then have the outcome, and then turn around and act in a way that violates it. So I don't think that the Ivorian government or the Ivorian state would want to be seen in a certain negative light as a country that does not honor its international obligations, especially in terms of the pronouncement of international tribunals and courts. So far, they have behaved well. Indeed, we have had very cordial ties with Cote d'Ivoire for decades. I do not recall the last time there was tension, maybe with the exception of the unfortunate Asek Kotoko incident. I don't recall any moment that we've had any major or serious confrontation. So I do not expect the relationship to deteriorate on account of this particular ruling. And the leadership of both countries have striven over the years to maintain that cordial relationship. It is a victory for international rule of law also. Yes. Right. And an example for other countries to emulate in terms of resolving disputes between them.
All right, I'm grateful. Let's quickly touch on this one. The statement has a story. Last week, there were some calls for fuel prices to go up, but this is from the Ghana Road Transport Coordinating Council. It says that the story on page 4 says that patrons of commercial transport will not be paying more despite the recent rise in petroleum prices. This was revealed at a meeting between transport operators and the other stakeholders in the sector last Friday. The meeting was called after agitations over increment in prices of petroleum products over the past few months. The agitated drivers had threatened to increase transport fares with the justification that the increment in the prices of fuel has seriously impacted the operations. However, a joint statement issued by the national chairman of the GPRTU, Kwame Kuma, and the chairman of the Ghana Road Transport Coordinating Council, Ben Pepra Amwabeng, indicated that their monitoring of the pricing of fuel since fares were last increased raised no cause for an increment in transport fares. The statement said, "We have noted that the net position does not create a significant increase to warrant increase in transport fares." The statement indicated that transport operators who were at the meeting understood that there was no need for increment in transport fares. In view of the above, all transport operators are not to increase fares. That's the end of the statement from the Ghana Road Transport Coordinating Council. Alex, so at least it has put to rest some cause over the last week that fuel prices were rising, so we need equal increase in fares.
Well, right, I'm sure we all are aware that pursuant to the deregulation policy, we've had some of these things being put in place, particularly the NPA, you know, ensuring that depending on the market's dictates, prices could go up or down. And then also tangential to that is this committee, which is also there to review,
right,
depending on the percentage of increase or decrease. Then they would be able to determine how much fares people are supposed to pay. For someone like me, who is in the transport sector, transport and logistics, fuel is key. You know, it's a major cost to my operations. So I would ordinarily love to have prices going up to enable me also recover from the fuel. So then, if there is always there's a formula that is in the contract that allows me to increase my charges should fuel prices go up to a certain percentage, the better it is for me. But you cannot also just increase your charges, or as a transporter, a commercial vehicle operator, increase your fares because there's a percentage in the rise of fuel. It's important we regulate these things, have controls. In most contracts for transporters and logistics services providers, for instance, there is a minimum percentage at which you can increase your charges. That, okay, if prices go up by, say, 5%, you apply this formula and all that. And I'm sure that the committee has also set up a benchmark. I am happy that they've put it to rest, because sometimes speculations can create problems. They've made a point clearly that we are not going to increase fares. I expect all drivers to abide by that decision so that things don't get out of hand.
I see. I'm grateful. Felix?
Yeah, right. You see, well, of course, the statement from the GPRTU should otherwise clarify matters for everybody. I don't know to what extent they can enforce that particular regulation, because last week there were reports following the fuel price adjustments that some drivers had already arbitrarily increased their fares, and it led to many quarrels and fights, as we become used to in this country. So I do hope that beyond the statement, the GPRTU does have a mechanism through which they do market monitoring to ensure that their members are complying with the directive. Beyond that is the fact that there are economic factors that would push them to take such decisions. Last 2 weeks or so, some driver groups lamented bitterly how the cumulative increase in fuel price over the period, running to about almost 20% since January, was affecting their business. They also lamented how spare parts prices have gone up by about 30%, contrary to expectation that once government had claimed that they had reduced import duties or removed import duties, drivers and other road users or vehicle owners were going to pay less for spare parts. But that has not translated. It has not translated into reality for them. And so they felt very disadvantaged, such that if they do not increase their prices, their businesses were not going to be sustainable. These are realities that we ought to address and admit as a people. But you see, Alex spoke about the deregulation regime, which meant that government, through the NPA, had basically absorbed itself of the responsibility of fixing fuel prices. That is actually what exists. Unfortunately, Alex's argument cannot be allowed to stand because all these factors were in place at the time that they were campaigning in opposition and making statements that implied that government had a role to play in fixing prices. In fact, I just opened up to a news item in which now President Akufo-Addo is quoted when he went to Germany in 2016 as part of his campaign tour, as saying that some fuel price increment that happened around that time was insensitive. Indeed, Dr. Baumia, Vice President of the Republic of Ghana, is on record to have also labeled as insensitive another fuel price increment that took place when President Mahama was president. At the time they were making these statements, they were fully aware that they had been implemented a deregulation regime, which meant that it was the oil marketing companies that fixed prices based on certain pricing formula that had been established. The government's role was limited to the imposition of taxes and exchange rate control. We have been told that, and indeed we have all seen a certain depreciation in the value of the cedi, which has impacted these prices. But it is difficult to accept the MPP argument now, because they did not argue like that in opposition, especially when they were aware
that government doesn't have a role.
Yes, they didn't accept it. In fact,
you attempted to.
Let me make my point. When I finish, you see, in fact, in 2015, I think June or so, Nana Akufo-Addo issued a statement when ESLA, the energy sector levies, were introduced. He singled it out for condemnation and said that it had led to fuel and electricity price adjustments. He demanded that it be removed immediately so that fuel prices can come down. When you make such a demand, it presupposes that when you have the opportunity and you are in a position to do something about it, you will do it. We have not seen the removal of ESLA. In fact, it has become the linchpin around which they are proposing to raise energy bonds of $2.5 billion to amortize what we call legacy debt in the energy sector. Indeed, it was because of those debts that ESLA was introduced in the first place. So the lack of consistency in position, what appeared to be blatant political and deliberate propaganda intended to incite the citizenry against the Mahama administration, has come back to haunt them. The reality is that fuel prices have to be fixed in a way so that those who engage in the trade are able to realize the investment that you put into it, so that we will have fuel at the pumps. Electricity prices have to be maintained at a certain level so that especially the state-owned entities that operate there do not get their financing lines clogged and are unable to invest in the sector. That will result in doing so and make all of us suffer. But the NPP knew this and yet thought that it was better to play to the gallery and incite Ghanaians against the Mahama administration, brand us as insensitive. They've been in power. How is it that they are unable to control the price of fuel? Since January, there's been a cumulative 20% increase in the price of the commodity. They have been around. They used to make noise about exchange rate depreciation. Today, the exchange rate has dropped. It has fallen. And they've done nothing about it. So when you speak like that in opposition and you come into government and you receive flack and criticism for it, there's little that can be done about it. I'm sure that the drivers and the motoring public who listen to the MPP and place confidence in them that they were going to be able to reduce fuel and electricity prices have realized that the MPP is simply unable to do so.
Okay.
So there was dishonesty, which I'm sure they will pay for when the day of reckoning comes in 2020.
Alex, did you say that government has no hand at all in how much we pay at the pumps?
Right. First of all, it's consistently, it appears to me that Felix has not recovered from the defeat of 2016.
I've missed it.
No. I think I kept quiet for you. I thought this morning we've set the tone in a manner that will not lead to heckling. Let's make it cool.
We're wrapping up cool.
It appears to me that you still not recovered because you make an argument. It appears that you're doing it well. Then you come in with a campaign issue. Please, the election is over. MPP is not a dishonest party. We made major promises. Free SHS, year 1, we have rolled it out. National identification, we have rolled it out. Respect that, and let's move on. Now, on this issue of deregulation, all that our party said, and I was in Parliament, I was part of that press conference, was that let there be transparency. If you want to quote MPP for what it has said, quote MPP right. Don't misquote MPP. We said, government, explain what goes into it.
So you didn't fault government for the price.
Please, the deregulation was initiated by the MPP. So I won't run away from it. That's the reality.
Okay.
In any event, Felix is pinning this discussion to facts, but he smuggled some speculation in by saying that, oh, so there's a report. Which report? There's a report that spare parts have gone up by over 30%. That is not true. Who said what and where from this report? 2, he claims that cumulatively we've had the fuel prices going up by over 20%. That is his position. In any event, granted that that is the fact, it's up to 20%. Is he saying that we've not had fares being adjusted upwards?
I think it was in April. I think the last one was in
Yes, so it's not a zero-sum game here. So I would want him to at least be consistent, laud the government for steps that are being taken. Look, he talks about the fact that we've not been able to hold the city and there's depreciation. Is that what he's saying? When a government, upon assuming office, has been able to make a record gain by raising over 2 billion in bonds with the lowest of rates ever in 8 years that you came, you were issuing bond, domestic bond, 23%, 22%, and then we come and do it at 19% to finance maturing debt, to ensure some stability so that we can take off. You don't see anything commendable in all of these. You still criticize, and then you brand us as being dishonest. I think that is way low.
So his argument is about the city. He said the city is depreciating. That's what he said. Now, is that to say that he's being dishonest?
Oh, please. It depends on how you situate it. Are you making it as an? Are you saying this as an absolute statement, and at what rate, or you are comparing?
No, not exactly.
No, depreciating at what rate? You see, when it was
against the dollar.
Yes, at what rate? And in absolute terms, right. We're having a debate. Yeah, in absolute terms, how worse is it, and how has it negatively affected the economy? That is one argument. Comparatively, if you want to, you are making a political statement. Within the period that you were in office, around the same time, what was the rate of depreciation?
We have been told
you should come out though. We shouldn't.
There are two things.
Right.
The hurricane in the US might have contributed to the increase in fuel price or the city's depreciation.
Right. If you are talking about depreciation, I know that when it comes to such area, such issues, we'll deal with figures. Let Felix come out with the figures. What is the rate of depreciation? And it's been so for what period? How has same negatively affected the economy? Now, if you are making a political statement that the handlers of the economy haven't done well, that is why it is so, then it is important to relate it, since you are a politician and you want to create the impression that your administration did better, then relate it to your era and ask the question, within the same period, did we see depreciation of the city in a very worse state or not? Let's be fair. If you want to make the argument,
let me get Felix to come back.
Anchor it on fact. Give us the data. Don't just make a sweeping statement that there's a depreciation of the city.
Okay, a quick one. Felix, a quick one. Then we'll go to Johnny for some.
It is obvious that Alex is trying to flee from the MPP's own committee.
No, I'm asking you.
Look, I am not putting the MPP. I beg your pardon. I'll quote all of it. You see, I believe the factual analysis. Not a problem. Okay. But you see, I didn't quote the MPP. I quoted the president, who was their leader, the arrowhead of their campaign. He said fuel price increments under Mahama were insensitive. It is a factual statement. He said it in Germany, in Cologne, to be precise, when he met some Ghanaians for a campaign tour. The vice president is on record as having said that he pities Ghanaians who have to bear the brunt of insensitive fuel price adjustments. It's a statement of fact. At the time that he was speaking, all the factors that contribute to fuel price fixing were in place. Nothing has changed. I went back to 2015 when ESLA was introduced and pointed you to a statement made by Nana Akufo-Addo demanding an immediate removal of ESLA because he said it had contributed to fuel and electricity price adjustments. Now, when you make these commitments, you are bound by them. So when you come into power, you are expected to act accordingly. You come into power and fuel prices have gone up cumulatively almost 20%. And you say we should not say it because there's deregulation.
No, he's suggesting rather that
but it is a fact.
Look about how government is working at dealing with it instead of just concentrating on
what has government done to deal with fuel price adjustments? Nothing, because the records will show that the thing has gone up.
He cited the bond to pay debt.
Indeed. Only last week, the Bank of Ghana issued a statement that said that our debt had risen to 139 billion Ghana cedis as of June. It rose to that level from 122 billion Ghana cedis. That means that within that period, they've added 17 billion Ghana cedis to our debt. That debt came about as a result of some of the bonds that they floated. If you check the Bank of Ghana statement, it is in there. So why should I commend you?
What is the
please.
Okay. Let me bring in John.
No. So you are why, Alex? You are a business person. Let me make your point, please.
Let me bring in Johnny.
You are a business person.
But why are you doing
Let me bring in Johnny.
Where are the facts and figures? Where are the facts and figures?
So some of your messages on WhatsApp says, Senior Bride, please help me to understand this.
Let's take some comments.
Is it a duty of the police patrol team to inspect roadworthy, income tax, insurance, etc., cause arrest for any of these offences and take money from taxi drivers? If not, then someone must call those in Brekum to order because they have been doing this for far too long. Michael in Brekum. Let's all think about the good things you and I can do to get Ghana move in a constructive manner. The founder of Ghana is the person who seeks to improve the well-being of Ghanaians, Abubakar in Tamale. Last on 191 says, we have to applaud the efforts of the President, Nana Akufo-Addo, Attorney General, and those who were part of Ghana's team to win this historic victory for Ghana. You're talking about ITLOs. Aziz Donline says, Ghana won the maritime boundary case due to the unity among the current and former AG. As a country, this is how we need to live and not to be whimsical and capricious in our dealings. Aziz Donla, thank you. Good morning. The President said allowances have been restored and still I'm not seeing anything. Oh, Daniel Tete and Ashamad says so. Good morning. Since Ghana has emerged victorious in the judgment, where's the victory party? Daniel Tete wants to know. Alex will tell us. Jerry John Austin from Odoko says, good morning. Thanks to God at last for the victory over Cote d'Ivoire. But our relationship with them should be the same and intact. There should be no segregation among us because of this issue. Good morning, TV3. Congratulations. This was one of the greatest works of JM, taking up the issue to court. What a visionary leader he was. JM, continue to shine and let your enemies be put to shame. Osman Burkisson in Tamale. Right. Good morning from Honorable Felix. We can now have Founders Day and not Founder Day because it was the decision of some individuals that to bring Ghana to independence, and not only Kwame Nkrumah, as they have been saying. Well, good morning. I'm enjoying your program now. In fact, the local Black Stars made Ghana proud. We'll talk about this over the weekend. Sectors with a common purpose. Ghana first. NDC folks would never cease to amaze me. Only yesterday, Ghana won a landmark maritime border dispute against Cote d'Ivoire under President Nana Akufo-Addo's administration. And the NDC was quick to recognize the contribution of JDM for starting the fight, but are failing to replicate same reasoning to the independence struggle when we all acknowledge the struggles from independence started long before Dr. Nkrumah was brought into the picture. Stop this cheap politics and double standards because it will not take us, a nation, anywhere. Tamale. I'm sure we can leave it here and read some more of your comments later. But Alex, the crowd at the GMB, they have been worried. They say you went to launch the thing for Baba, and then you have abandoned her. You don't turn up for the people come there with Jama and Yum Kroent and say they are looking for you. When are you visiting us? The folks from Cape Coast. No, they said it. They told me last Sunday.
Nobody Nobody told you that.
He's not living up to his responsibility.
They said when you came to lunch, they said he's been singing. He came to sing at the lunch, and then he abandoned the people. Make a promise to the people. They are watching you.
No,
but this Sunday, Alex just told me before he started that he'll be at the show this Sunday.
You should promise a prize.
If you want me to be at your show, say so.
But no, you're here to support your own Baba that you spoke about this.
But if you launch the thing and you don't come.
No, but is it the case that
the people said it? The people
they didn't say I've abandoned. They made their humble request
that you are not there.
They want their MP to be president. So they didn't say I've abandoned.
I've taken note of that. Yes. Candidate for 2020.
Gentlemen, sorry, we have to wrap up. Phyllis Kwacho Fosu is a former Deputy Communications Minister, and Alexander Afenyo-Markin, member of Parliament for the Futu constituency. Grateful you stayed in there. Stay here and watch how Ghana annihilated the Super Eagles of Nigeria. Fair, we'll do that in just a couple of minutes. Stay with us.
Welcome back. We're still here on New Day, and we're going to talk about the eye, because the eye is a very important part of your body. Without it, you won't see, and maybe you might have lost out on some part of its function. But we're talking about eye because we're celebrating World Ocular Prosthesis Day in 2 days' time. That's on 27th of September. And talking to me about it, I have Mrs. Dorothy Fiadoyo. She's an ophthalmic nurse at the Eye Center, Kolebu. Also, I have Miss Evelyn Tre. She's an ocularist. Welcome, ladies, and good morning.
Good morning.
So we're talking about the eye, and I see the eyeball sitting right there. Can you tell us a little about why we even have to talk about World Ocular Prosthesis Day?
I think we have to know about the normal eye before we get to the abnormality.
Right.
So the eye is, I would say that it's an organ that we use to see. So we have this transparent part, that is the window of the eye, and we call it cornea.
Can we turn it around so viewers can see?
Yeah, so that is the cornea, or the window of the eye.
All right.
Then we have the iris, the darkened parts over here. Then we have the hole here. And this hole is called a pupil. And this one becomes smaller in bright light and then larger in dark light, dark area. Then we have the lens. That's the lens. And this one also should be transparent. We have the vitreous. Then we have the retina.
That's the way back.
Way back. So the eye you see here goes the way back, and then that's the retina, and then we have the optic nerve. So before we see, we have light rays from the image that will pass through the transparent part of the eye. That's the window of the eye. Then it passes through the pupil. Passes through the lens to be transparent. Then the image is carried through the transparent vitreous, then onto the retina, just like a film. Then messages will be carried from here, that is the connecting cables, to the brain. We can liken something like a computer processing machine. So after that, then whatever we need will be processed and sent back to us. So the way I'm looking at you, so beautiful, I see you at Dr. Ajiman.
Right. Nice. So what are some of the conditions for which someone may lose an eye and then require the prosthesis?
We have congenital. Some people can be born with. They can be born with no eye at all. Or some will be born with shrinking of the eye. We have certain infections like vitamin A deficiency, like measles, because the measles, if your care is not taken, will melt the cornea. So the eye will become small, or it won't be there at all. Then we also have injuries. And research that I looked at also reveals that about 55% are due to injuries. And like children playing with sharp objects, pen and pencil, bow and arrow. And then we also have people just bouncing blows on their spouse's eyes or faces. We also have chemicals. Chemicals like from soap or even the
hair product.
The hair product that we use. Also, people buy drugs off counter, unprescribed drugs, and then they use it, the eye, and can also melt the eye. We also have Stephen Johnson syndrome. They react to some of the drugs because they don't even know their GCSPD status.
Right.
Then they get this Stephen Johnson, which also melts the eye. We also have tumors, especially in children. We call it retinoblastoma. It starts from age 1 to 5 years. So if care is not taken or the mother doesn't really see it early and come to the hospital, we also have congenital glaucoma. This glaucoma can also affect the retina, but it shows at the cornea. So you see protruding of the eyeball, and that one can also be removed. We also have brain tumors that can push the eye forward. Also.
Okay.
So these are some.
Just some.
Some of them.
After this, when the person has been identified to have this condition and their eye is taking out for one reason or another, and they come to you, what then do you do for them?
Now, replace the absence of a natural eye. And 27th September, meaning 2 days from now, we are celebrating World Ocular Prosthesis Day. So Kolebu Eye Center, we are celebrating this day to create awareness for people to know that there is
camera, so they have an idea of what an ocular prosthesis looks like.
Now, if you say ocular prosthesis, as I explained earlier on, we have this eye which has been manufactured, and it looks like a natural eye. So if somebody is wearing it, it's very difficult for somebody to tell that the person is wearing artificial eye or the person is wearing ocular prosthesis. We have different types because we take impression of the empty sockets. Then after taking the impression, we mold to get what comes out of because everything is done here. The measurement and everything is done here. The prosthetic eye or the prosthetic eye, it moves alongside with the good eye. So as the patient looks side and side, the prosthetic eye also moves alongside with the good eye. And the color too looks the same because you look at the patient eye color and you paint it alongside with it.
Okay, but I'm sure people are scared because when they hear of hospitals, it means you're coming in for surgery, you have to lie down for all the many doctors to inject you. But is this something that requires a surgical procedure?
No. The unit, what we do for the patient is we explain the procedure to the patient because if they see the pictures on the walls, they think the prosthesis can be able to see. So you explain everything to the patient. Now, you take measurement of what comes out of whatever you get. Everything is done locally. You don't need to go through any surgical procedure. Now, the prosthetic eye is not a permanent replacement. The patient can decide to take it out and fix it back anytime the patient wants to.
By themselves?
Yes.
Okay.
Now, if you fix the prosthesis for them, what we do is we teach them how to take care of it. They should wash it and put it back. Now, because we are doing what is called custom fit ocular prosthesis in Ghana, the prosthesis, you can sleep with it. You can do everything with the prosthesis. Formerly, we used to have what we call stock shell ocular prosthesis. Now we stopped using that one because it looks a little scary. But with the custom fit ocular prosthesis that we are doing at Kolebu, it comes out as natural as I explained to you earlier on. So the patient.
So you just walk in a morning. How long does it take to even get a fit?
Now, ocular prosthesis takes between 2 to 3 days to manufacture one. And that is what's...
Okay, interesting. Is it expensive? Because I'm sure people are interested in getting it.
Yeah, it's cover the cost of it.
So, I mean, for someone who was born blind, maybe for one reason or another, actually has both eyes out or not function, can you have bilateral prosthesis?
Yes, we've been having cases of such. So what you have to do for that child or that person is you just examine the color. If it's a child, the child doesn't need too much color in the eye. Okay. So you paint it to let it come out like a natural color for a small or a baby.
Okay, so for how long can you wear ocular prosthesis?
Now, it depends. Children can wear ocular prosthesis from the day you fix the prosthesis for up to 10 years. Okay. And adults too, they can wear it till they feel like they want to change it. Because as we are growing, the color of the eye changes. But in children, it takes time before the color of the eye changes. But in adults, you see that the color of the eye keeps on changing. So it changes, but it takes between 10 to 15 years for another replacement.
I'll chip in here that with children, I'll plead with the parents, especially the mothers, to be able to remove it because we demonstrate to them. Okay. Other than that, there will be accumulation of fluid at the back of the eye and to make the child smell. Okay. Also, the importance of this whole thing is that it also boosts the person's morale, self-esteem, the person looks so beautiful. And in children, it even develops the scar. Where it has been, when you fix in the prosthesis, it develops that side of the scar. And you look so beautiful, you look very confident wherever you go. Okay. So I will encourage that people should go in for the prosthesis.
Anyway, just a little one on the day. Where is it happening and where, how do we get there?
Well, the ocular prosthesis day will be at Kolebu Teaching Hospital, specifically eye clinic, at 8 a.m. in the morning on Wednesday.
All right, so everyone is invited?
Yes.
Okay, anyway, so you heard a little about ocular prosthesis. I hope you buy into the idea. If you need one, just walk into Kolebu Eye Center and I'm sure they'll take care of you. I've been speaking to Mrs. Dorothy Fiadoyo and Miss Evelyn Chire. Thank you so much, ladies. We'll take a break. We'll be back. Stay here with us on Newday.
If it's your birthday, happy birthday to you. A special one, of course, to Nanabina Aso Owusu and Victor Yofi Esubonting. This from Cephas Omenyo and Newday here at Media General. And happy birthday to all of you. Good morning to you, Nanaya Busumpim, all the way in Yinam and Nanasari in Connect FM. Now, let's talk technology and science because I've been joined by the Dr. Justice Salif, who is the Dean of School of Business and Technology from the mother unit, the Medina Institute of Science and Technology. Good morning.
Good morning.
It is, right?
Yes, it is. MIST.
Interesting name and acronym.
Yes.
MIST. Why that?
Because the school was established or founded by a foundation. Okay. Foundation for Science and Technology.
Right.
So the name actually is very reminiscent of the foundation that gave birth to the university.
How long ago did they put this together?
2013 we started.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So accreditation processes
are completed.
Okay.
And now we're running the school. We actually have students, lecturers, and all the stakeholders.
Wow. Congratulations to you one more time. What's the mission and vision of the school? I'm interested in that.
Yes. The vision is to produce students who are effective at workplace and also can become successful entrepreneurs.
Okay.
So our focus is to fill the gaps that our current educational system has.
Okay.
So that you produce someone who can come out and when they get work, they can do it well. Also, they can also be ethical. Okay. And also take the entrepreneur direction.
Dr. Salifo, speaking of students, there's usually the problem of funding.
Okay.
Is there anything like a scholarship for students?
Yes, we are looking to launch a scholarship fund. Currently, we have donor support.
Okay.
And our fees is the lowest in the country.
It is?
Yes, it is. Because we believe that everybody must have access to education, a tertiary education. But it's low, but some people can still not afford.
Low as compared to whose?
Almost every university in the country.
How low is low?
We have the lowest fee. Is 1,250 semester.
Okay.
That's the lowest you can get in the country. But we think it's still difficult for some people to get access.
Right.
So we have a scholarship fund. We're actually launching it on Saturday.
Okay, thank
so
you.
that we can get donor support to build our capacity to help people who normally cannot get access to tertiary education.
So it's a double launch on Saturday. Right. You're launching the Institute of Medina Institute of Science and Technology on Saturday, and then there's a scholarship fund for brilliant but needy students that's going to be launched.
So the scholarship fund will be launched alongside the integration.
I see.
Because all along we've been doing accreditation, we've been putting things together, and we've actually started very well. But we need to outdoor the university. We need to bring stakeholders so that they can get to know exactly what we're doing.
Good news. How does one apply to become a student?
To apply is very easy. Now,
tell me about it.
I had the school of business and technology, so we are more technology incline. So you just buy the scratch card, is the number, and then you go online and you can fill in application.
So
it's a very simple process.
Not a form, it's not a hard copy that you need to get.
No, I think we moved from that. Those are a very anachronistic way of doing it. So we actually make it so easy. You go online, it takes less than 10 minutes. And you are done.
You're done?
Yes. And then
you effect payment there or at the bank or something?
Once you make the payment, you get the scratch card, the PIN, and then you can go on into our system and apply, and it's pretty easy.
Interesting. So now I have admission, accommodation, hostel facilities,
we have a lot of infrastructure, number one. I think one of the best in the country. We have not even utilized half of our capacity in terms of infrastructure. So the hostels, we have a lot of them, and the space is so much. We have not been able to, our students have not been able to even occupy half of it. So once you get admission, no matter where you are in the country or you are from a foreign country, you come here, we can accommodate you. We have very spacious rooms and all the facilities.
Now we know where to sleep. Tell me about where to learn and how serene is it? How does it encourage learning and some of the courses that programs that you run?
Yes, the programs we run currently, we have the business school. We run the traditional programs, but so loaded with technology, and also you learn a lot of liberal arts and social sciences. And also the environment has been very stimulating, and we have a condition of classrooms. And our sitting arrangement is said that lecturers have direct interaction and intense interactions with a student. As a lecturer, I think I should know the way my students feel about my lecturing. So this is a small, and we have the smaller classes in the country. Because we have about 50, that's the upper limit. So this
very interesting. I'm fascinated already. So Saturday is the launch. What time is it start?
Saturday, 10 o'clock.
10 a.m.
Yes.
Medina, where's the school located?
The school is located at Lakeside Estate. Asiedu-Dartey is some people call it New Adenta. It's a very good neighborhood. Very quiet, and then everything seems to be available for our students and anybody that is coming.
Absolutely.
Come join us, not only to celebrate the ushering in of the new university, but also to know exactly what we are doing. And we are doing great things, and I believe we should get the support to continue, and that can help our country, that can help our world. And it's been great coming.
Thank you. Dr. Justice Salifu is the Dean of Students at the School of Business and Technology of the Medina Institute of Science and Technology. He's been telling us about the school and what goodies they bring to you. But no, we'll have a very lecture to be addressed by Dr. Mbia, who's being a former chairman of the legal committee of ITLOS. He will be telling us, alongside Justice Emil Short, former commissioner of Siraj, they'll be making sense of, sorry about that, the ITLOS judgment over the weekend for Ghana, Cote d'Ivoire maritime border disputes. And I'm sure most of you heard the English they spoke, but not many of us understood the English. So make your way to TV3 Executive Theatre, 10 a.m. nature, breaking for your understanding is happening here as the news lecture spearheaded by Media General. It will be across all our platforms: TV3, 3FM, Unia FM, Connect FM, Akuma FM, as well as 3news.com. You don't have to miss it. Check us out on Twitter, on Facebook as well, and enjoy. Bright Amma joins me shortly. We'll wrap up the show nicely. But in the meantime, here's something for your dancing pleasure.
One corner. Sure. They have to release your dance.
Expression of what the Ethiopian judgment looks like. It looks like the Egyptians. This looks like Moses.
Yeah.
Okay, parting the Red Sea onto the Jubilee field, and as our two attorney generals, former and current, Marietta Brewer-Pierpont and Gloria Kufu. And this looks like the legal team of the
That's their flag in the water.
Yeah, the flag there. And the Ivorians you see today, you see them no more. And but happy birthday to the beautiful Nana from the Western region. It's a birthday today. And tomorrow we'll talk about this thing. Filthy. It is on the main road from the Teshi towards La. Close to the La Palm Royal Beach.
On your right side.
Yes, on your right side after the Omanye Art Gallery. Alonte Junction is what they call it. And we'll ask Honorable, what do you call it?
Johnny, you took a selfie there.
Yes, I was there. The bola was smelling very...
So join us at 10
a.m.
I think the big thing this morning is the
lecture.
MG lecture at 10
Yes.
Come
sure.
and gain
it's
some
10 a.m.
understanding into it.
10 a.m. Join us.
I want to know the feeling when you're swimming in Ivorian waters.
That's the most important one for you. I think you know about water you are drowning. You want to ask about sea.
We need to go. 5:30. I'll meet you on radio 3FM 92.7. Speak your mind. But 10 a.m. we're all meeting here at the Executive Theatre for the news lecture, MG News Lecture, making sense of the 8 Laws Judgment. See you. Have a great day.
Have a good day. See you tomorrow.